Are you trying to follow all this writing advice and still getting feedback that your book is boring and predictable? I would have never hit the New York Times list or sold 8 million copies if I kept following the same outdated advice that was making my books get rejected left and right. But in this video, I'm going to give you a really easy tip for how to make your book surprise the readers and keep them on the edge of their seats so that you don't hear boring and predictable ever again. I call it Shirley's Rule of Six, and it's really simple. You basically just come up with 6 versions of whatever you're trying to work on. But there's a caveat to that. They've got to be 6 unique ideas. And if it's really hard for you to do it, you're doing it right. Have you ever watched a movie or a TV show and you were like, I did not see that coming? We just watched the first season of Mobland, and I must have said, I didn't see that coming at least 10 times throughout that season. It was really unpredictable, and I did not expect any of the endings of the scenes or any of the machinations behind the scenes of the different characters that happened. And that is a really great, enjoyable thing when that happens to you in a movie or in a book. But how do you do that so that you're not writing the same old predictable thing? I started doing this when I realized that my characters were flat and uninteresting. I would send out a book proposal to an agent or editor thinking, this is the best thing I've ever written. They would reject me with a form letter. But then I kind of had this like light bulb moment where I looked at what I was doing in the marketing job that I had and hated, by the way, and how I could apply it to fiction. A lot of times what you learn in one industry can easily apply to the other industry. And in marketing, every PR and advertising firm's job is to put their company into the top 5 of people's top of mind awareness, which means if somebody says, name me 5 brands of soda or 5 brands of toothpaste, those 5 are the ones that advertisers and marketers have worked really, really hard to get to the top of your mind so that you think of that brand when you go to the store. Try it right now to stop and write down the top 5 brands of toothpaste that you know. You'll probably come up with 4 pretty easily, but the 5th one, you struggle a little bit. And then if I said name the top 6, the 6th one would be even harder to come up with. It's all some kind of brain chemistry thing where our brains tend to remember odd numbered things. And so that's why when you see advertising, there's usually 3 or 5 bullet points. There's not 6 or 4. For whatever reason, our brains do better with odd numbered things. And I'm not here to teach science. I'm here to teach you how to write a book. So 6 is where the brain really has to struggle and work harder to come up with something. When I realized that, I thought, how can I apply that to my books? I can start taking everything that I need to figure out and applying the rule of 6 to it to make myself come up with 6 different ideas. I started off doing it with just book titles. And The Bride Wore Chocolate, which is one of my best sellers of all time, and it has hit the USA Today list and other bestseller lists more than once, was my 6th title idea for that particular book. It really worked well. So I thought, what if I do it for other parts of the book? So I started doing it for character conflicts. When I would say, what is my character conflicted about? I would come up with 6 different things. What is my character's motivation? I would come up with 6 different things. What happens is you start digging deeper. Let me give you a real life example that will probably tell you more about me than you really want to know. But I once sat down with my friend and said, let's do 6 reasons why we run. Now I run, 20 miles a week or so. And at the time, I was starting to have panic attacks on a regular basis when I went out to run, and I didn't understand why. So my friend gave me her reasons, and I started listing mine. And your first few are going to be surface reasons. They're going to be the more outward reasons rather than the really down deep reasons, because your brain is just searching for the obvious answers. So my first 3 reasons were because I can lose weight that way, because I look good in my clothes, because I feel healthier. Those are the surface reasons. They're the reasons you think about it when you get up in the morning. Well, I want to fit that dress, and I had that ginormous cake last night. Maybe I should go out for a run. You see how the surface things work. But when you get quiet with yourself and you start digging deeper, you get to the real reasons why you are doing what you do. Number 4 for me was because it was coveted alone time or time with friends. I had 2 kids. I was a busy mom working full time. I really enjoyed that time when I was out on the run. Number 5 for me was because it taught me I could do hard things. I could run in a thunderstorm. I could run up a really high hill. I could run when the wind was pushing against me. I could do hard things. And so we sat there for a while and started trying to really think about what our 6th one is. And this is the hard one to get to. This is when you're going to dig deep. And finally I said, the really down deep reason why I run is because it is the only time in my day, in my life, that I am 100% in control of where I go, how fast I go, how far I go, and all of the choices in between. My life at the time was not happy at all, and I knew I had to make some hard decisions. That moment with my friend where I got to that sixth reason about why I ran was literally life-changing. And so I started taking that and applying it to my characters and really digging deep. Why are you doing this? Why does this matter so much to find this lost girl? Why does it matter to clear your grandfather's name? More than just, that you love your grandfather. What else is really at the root of that? And when you can do that, you start creating characters that are more layered. That creates the characters that people really relate to, that people say, you've got to buy this book. It's so amazing. When you get to a place where you want a really big hook, something that the reader does not see coming, you want to come up with 6 radically different ideas of how it could go. Not just like the character could turn right at this intersection or they could turn left. You want to say, what are 6 different ways that this can go sideways? Maybe the character gets hit by a bus, and that's the last thing you expected, was for that main character to die. Or maybe the character gets whisked away and kidnapped, and when the reader least expects it. Or maybe the character turns out to be the daughter of the bad guy. Like all of these things that could possibly happen that the reader does not see coming. Whatever 6 really different things you could have happen in your book, use those, come up with them. But the best place to use it is at the end of a scene, particularly at the end of a turning point. We've talked about turning points before in other videos, and I encourage you to go back and watch any of my videos on plotting to talk about that, or take my writer's boot camp where I delved really deeply into how to write a turning point, when it should occur, and exactly what should happen with it. You want to really come up with 6 radically different, unique ideas, and then work with the 6th one, the most difficult one, the one where you're going to look at that and think, I don't even know how I'm going to write that, how I'm going to get the character out of that. Because what happens then is that the reader is just as surprised as you are, and the reader is worrying just as much as you are about how the character is going to get out of this. I do this all the time. I've got 6 different options here for the turning point, and the last one is the most difficult to write. And trust me, I'm just as lazy as the next person. I would really like to write the first one. It's the most obvious thing that would happen next. But if you can come up with the least obvious thing that would happen next, you're going to transform your book. You're going to take it from boring and predictable to, oh my God, I had to turn the next page. That's what you want readers to be saying. You're going to take your characters from being, they didn't come alive for me on the page, to, have you seen that book? You've got to read it. I love this character. I hope that gets made into a movie. Those are the kind of things you really want your readers to say. Is it easy? No. If it was easy, everybody would do it. It shouldn't be easy. Writing a book is tough. Every time. It's tough. Doesn't matter how many times you've done it. But is it worth it? Absolutely. You're going to write a story that you're going to be really proud of, and that's going to be really unique. So get out a notepad and start writing lists of 6. 6 reasons the character could be choosing to do this. 6 reasons the character doesn't want to do this. 6 ways the plot could go sideways. Wherever you get stuck, whatever you're trying to come up with, try to figure out 6. And work with the 6th one, the one that is not at the top of your mind, the one that the reader did not see coming. And if you want to see how to put all of that together into a scene, I suggest watching this video here that helps you take your scene from to amazing and uses that rule of 6 to really pump it up to the next level.